This is the Metro broadcasting from Detroit's historic Cass Corridor. I'm Robin Vincent.
And I'm Tia Graham. Today on the program, last season felt like magic for the Detroit Lions until it didn't.
Now, Lions fans are looking at the new schedule and asking, is this finally the year we bring it all home?
Also, crisis doesn't wait, but federal cuts means some Metro Detroit communities may have to.
Plus, Detroit's 3-day electronic music festival movement happens this weekend.
And before the bass drops, we're dropping tips to help you party smart.
But first, in Rochester, a dense grove of 300 native trees and shrubs is taking root behind City Hall. The forest is tiny, no bigger than a few parking spots, but it marks a big change, an innovative way of thinking about how cities care for land, climate, and community. Designed to grow fast and wild and revive biodiversity, it's based on a Japanese method called the Miyawaki technique. And with these leaves and trees come birds, bees, and shade. All of it begins to return when native plants take hold. The forest was planted by volunteers, city staff, and master gardeners. It was led by Rochester City Council member Marilyn Trent through her work with Rochester Pollinators. And Council member Trent joins us now to discuss some of the powerful messages this little forest contains. Council member Trent, welcome to the program.
Wow, I'm so excited to be here.
So let's start with the big picture. What does this microforest mean for a place like Rochester in the face of climate change?
So just 1,000 square feet, which to me is like a mini miracle, with these 290 plantings, being a combination of 52 canopy trees, 106 understory trees, and 132 shrubs, replicates the traditional forest. And with that, it supports over 1,500 different species.
Wow.
So you can't plant like ginkgo and boxwoods. You have to plant the native species that were here. It also does stormwater management, which right now it could annually absorb 25,000 to 30,000 gallons once it gets more established. And the dense root systems are layered vegetation, and that improves the infiltration of the water because it's can be 10, 20, 30 feet deep when it's fully established. Carbon sequestration, yes, takes care of that. Check that box. 450 to 700 pounds per year starting now. Temperature reduction. It has a cooling effect. You have been on the sidewalk, and maybe if you're lucky, you might be able to take a respite in the shade. That's what you can do. And then biodiversity boost, which I just talked about.
Wow. So trees are very powerful protectors when it comes to issues of climate change. Now, this project uses a Japanese method called the Miyawaki technique. Can you walk us through what that is and why it's different from typical city plantings?
Well, the most important part is it's the acceleration of the growth. Because it's 10 times or 30 times denser, it grows 30 times as fast. So what happens is the density causes a competition above ground for them to grow straight up. So instead of just taking their time, and then below ground, because they're native plantings, they are communicating through a mycorrhizal network, which is sharing of nutrients, water, and nitrogen and phosphorus. So it was quite unique that I discovered this type of communication that's going on below ground, because it's very important. And I read Finding the Mother Tree, and it changed my life. So we do have a mother tree that in all traditional forests, Dr. Suzanne Simard found out that you can, every forest has mother trees or central hubs that are exchanging nutrients through cooperation and reciprocity.
Wow.
We could all learn from that.
Absolutely. So this is a book called Finding the Mother Tree
by Suzanne Simard. Yes.
And so these trees are in communication with one another, but they're also in competition.
Above ground. Yes.
This is not your first foray when it comes to working with the earth. You've helped transform front yards, school gardens, and now city land through your work with Rochester Pollinators. Talk about the lesser known benefits of restoring native plants.
Well, I always say, well, it can't wash your dishes, but it can almost do everything else. Because beyond helping save our pollinator insects, which the monarch butterfly is in decline up to 90% depending on the year, and you need to plant milkweed. It can't live on any other type of plant. It lays its eggs on the milkweed, and that's a host plant. And other host plants are here, and we're here for millions of years, and the insects and the host plants and the native plants evolve together. So if you lose the plant, you lose the insect. And then it also, as with this forest, will soak up hundreds of gallons of water if you plant like a rain garden. And because of that, you can think it this way. Grass is about 2 inches of root, but these plants go from 10 or 6 to 15 feet deep. So if you think about that, they are uncompacting the soil. I don't know if that's a scientific word, or decompacting, and it's keeping it loose so it can soak that water in the way it was meant to be. It also doesn't need pesticides or herbicides, so you save money there. And you don't use pesticides on herbicides. You shouldn't, because that is what's killing our insects and butterflies. Never thought I would try to save the bugs. Mm-hmm. But it also saves money because you don't have to mow the grass and you don't have the pollutants going into the air. So these are things that each one of us have control of as our planet is changing. 40 million acres of lawn has replaced natural habitat. And in each of our yards, we can do something about it by just adding a coneflower plant or a black-eyed Susan, just plants that they're not scary. You know, people are afraid of them because of their names like sneezeweed and swampweed, and they won't break in your house or steal your wine. What you'll do is you'll start falling in love with them, and you'll get addicted and you'll want more because they have a rhythm. They have a rhythm, like in the spring, the columbine will bloom and the ephemerals will bloom, and then the beard tongue will bloom, and then the milkweed, and then in the midsummer you'll get the coneflower, and then by the end of the season you'll get goldenrod and New England aster. So it gives you a better connection to what's really happening with your yard, which is happening with our planet and has for millions of years.
Councilmember Trent, you sound very passionate and poetic when you talk about this. And that is this microforest that is growing just steps away from City Hall. Was that symbolic for you? And how do you hope it changes the way that people are relating to public space?
It was very symbolic. I will go to a very, I guess, more of a response to basically it is fully self-sustaining in 2 to 3 years. Because what I found with the 6 pollinator gardens that have been planted in the city of Rochester's public lands, there's a level of maintenance that needs to be done. And this caught me with 2 to 3 years, fully self-sustaining, among other things. But people have leaned into this so much. And I think that it's easy for any city to do it, even public schools. You see all this empty land that can be restored. And you can also use it as an educational tool, and also to sit in, and if you make a little spot for people to just sit and relax and reflect. And also, when we planted it on planting day, it was like an old-fashioned barn raising. People drove up, not a whole lot, I guess hundreds of people drove up. Well, anyway, I won't say that. But anyway, several these people drove up. They were probably seniors, and I guess it doesn't matter the age, but they said, hey, when are you planting the forest? We want to watch. So, and now people want to know where it is so they can watch it grow. So in just 2 weeks, it's already filling in with a lot of leaves and a lot of leaf growth, I guess you'd say.
I mean, this speaks to the excitement and the engagement that people feel around planting new things and the life that comes from that and how that brings folks together. And it also stirs up some joy to see new plants going into the earth. You're listening to the Metro on WDET. I'm Robin Vincent. We're talking about Rochester's first microforest and what it means for residents and the environment. This conversation is part of WDET's Detroit Tree Canopy Project. Our guest is Rochester City Council member Marilyn Trent. What kinds of wildlife do you hope will return because of this project? And what kind of healing do you think that could offer to people?
Well, people love butterflies, so there will be some monarchs and your tiger swallowtail butterfly, your spicebush swallowtail butterfly, and there will be some native bees that do not sting. They have a lot of them don't even have stingers. They're very quietly, basically, going around looking for that pollen that they like.
We know bees have gotten a bad rap, but as your shirt clearly points out, we need to save the pollinators.
Yes, we do. The planet cannot survive without them. They're the little things that can save the world. But also the birds will come to eat those caterpillars because they can only feed their young caterpillars. They can't feed their young seeds. So caterpillars are like thinly skinned sausages. They have more protein than beef. So I don't know if you get into survival mode.
I'm so hungry now. Thinly skinned sausages. Council member Trent.
I gave a little presentation a few days ago to the Rotary Club of Rochester. What a wonderful group of people. And one person asked me, are you here as a politician? And I said, no, I'm here as a pollinator.
That's kind of adorable.
I thought it was kind of fun. But yes, it's just been more popular than my pollinator gardens have been through Rochester Pollinators. I just thought when I got this brochure from the Environmental Defense Fund in 2019 when they said the monarch butterfly was declining and all you needed to do was plant milkweed, I thought people should know this. And so I didn't know what it would evolve into is over 255 volunteers, hundreds of gardens, many presentations I've given, because most of the time people will say when they hear what the problem is and that where did all the insects go? Because if you can drive around, you can drive to Traverse City or up north and they're gone. And we need them as decomposers because our food web would collapse, just a little problem that we would run into. And I think more and more people would be very devastated if our food web collapsed.
Councilmember Trent, your roots have been entrenched in ecological work. I'm wondering in the last 30 seconds that we have here, what would you say to other cities or townships that want to do something similar but don't know where to start?
I would say to talk to your DPW and Parks Department. Many times there's a forester or environmental degree in those departments. And then talk to your City Beautiful Commission or whatever commission you have and just start mapping out some ideas. And you can go to our website. We have a link to how to do it. Because it is a step process, and it's all about organize. We got funded by two organizations. One was First State Bank, and the other was Community Foundation of Greater Rochester. And those two grants gave us enough money to purchase the plants and the fencing and everything else. And then we worked with 35 volunteers. And the city of Rochester couldn't have done it without them. So it's partnerships. What I say is it's people, pollinators, partnerships, and the planet.
Love that alliteration. Rochester City Council member Marilyn Trent, thank you so much for joining us on the Metro.
Well, you are welcome. So welcome.
This conversation about Rochester's first microforest is part of WDET's Detroit Tree Canopy Project. From the WDET newsroom, the Coalition for Property Tax Justice rallied in front of the Detroit Public Library, calling for a moratorium on tax foreclosures for homes valued under $50,000. The group claims the city systematically overassesses those homes, leading to what it says are illegal tax foreclosures. The coalition says while a recent study shows average assessments are correct, overassessments are still a problem. They say the Wayne County Treasurer should not foreclose on a home until it shows that the property was not overassessed. The Michigan Department of Health and Human Services is advising people to avoid foam on lakes and rivers this summer. Foam can form on any body of water and can appear white, off-white, or brown, and sometimes it contains harmful bacteria. Officials say the foam may have an earthy or fishy smell and can pile up along shores. If you get the foam on your skin, wash it off immediately. The health department also advises residents to keep their pets from playing in or consuming the foam. Up next, Movement is coming up this weekend. That's Detroit's 3-day electronic music festival, and it means people will be partaking. We'll learn about what one group is doing to help partygoers stay safe while still having a good time. This is The Metro on WDET. Stay with us.